All right, so we're back and ready for another deep dive. And this time, we're tackling the Heisman Trophy race.
Yeah, always a fun one.
It's week 4 of college football, and we've got some early predictions based on this article I saw called Early Heisman Watch, week 4. It's got some interesting contenders, to say the least.
Yeah, some big names and some maybe not so big names, but all definitely making their case.
Exactly. And just so everybody listening is on the same page, let's quickly recap what the Heisman actually is.
Sure. So the Heisman Trophy, it's basically the MVP award for college football. You know, every year it goes to the player considered the most outstanding, the most impactful in the entire nation.
And it's a huge honor, right? Like, it's the kind of thing that can launch a player into the history books.
Right.
Like, forever.
Oh, yeah. It's like winning the Super Bowl and getting the MVP trophy all in one. A Heisman win, that's legacy stuff right there.
For sure. And speaking of legacy, this article kicks off with a defensive player, which is, I mean, that's not something you see every day. It's Jordan Ross, defensive end for Tennessee.
Yeah, you don't usually see a defensive player leading the pack this early in the season. Usually, you know, it's the quarterbacks or running backs who grab all the attention, the ones putting up those flashy offensive numbers.
Right, right. So for a defensive guy to be the front runner, it really says something about how dominant he's been.
Absolutely. And his stats, man, they are straight up ridiculous. 19 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, which means he's stopping the offense behind the line of scrimmage. 6 sacks, so he's taken down the quarterback 6 times already. Plus, he even has an interception.
An interception? Come on, that's just showing off at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be an opposing quarterback going up against this guy. It's got to be terrifying.
Yeah, you see him coming at you, you'd probably just want to, like, throw the ball away and run in the opposite direction.
For sure. Okay, so next up, we've got a wide receiver who's putting up crazy numbers, even though his team isn't doing so hot.
Yeah.
It's Rick Darius Farmer from West Virginia. What's the deal with him?
So West Virginia, they're sitting at .500 right now, which means they've won as many games as they've lost. Not exactly a stellar record, but Farmer, he's just balling out. I mean, the dude's got 21 receptions, 709 receiving yards, and 10 touchdowns. And it's only week 4, people.
10 touchdowns already. That's wild. So you're telling me even though his team isn't winning every game, he's still finding a way to make those big plays and, you know, keep the fans entertained.
Exactly. He's like a one-man highlight reel. He's been called one of the fastest receivers in college football, and it shows in his big play ability.
Yeah, it's got to be exciting to watch him play, even if the team as a whole isn't always on fire.
Definitely. He's proving that individual talent can shine through no matter the circumstances.
All right, now for someone who definitely knows a thing or two about winning. Jalen Duncan, the quarterback for Tennessee. This guy already has a national championship under his belt, and he's showing no signs of slowing down.
Oh, yeah. Duncan is the real deal. He's what they call a dual threat quarterback, meaning he can hurt you with both his arm and his legs. He's got that explosiveness that just makes him so hard to defend, and his leadership on the field is obvious. You know, he's got that it factor that you can't teach.
I mean, he's already led his team to an undefeated record this season, so it's clearly working. So he's a nightmare for defenses because they have to worry about him passing A&D running.
Exactly. It's pick your poison. Do you try to contain his passing game, or do you focus on stopping him from running wild? It's a tough choice, and that's what makes him such a dangerous player.
And looking at his stats, you can really see that dual threat ability in action. 825 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And on the ground, he's got 94 rushing yards and a touchdown.
Right. He's not just a pocket passer. He can make plays with his legs, too. And it's interesting because his style kind of contrasts with another quarterback on the Heisman watch list, Miguel Polaris from Oregon.
Yeah, Polaris, he's got that highlight reel quality to his game, too. He throws these, like, pinpoint passes that just make you go, wow.
He's another dual threat guy, but he seems to favor the passing game a little bit more than Duncan, although he can still run when he needs to, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and his numbers are pretty insane, too. 1,386 passing yards, 19 passing touchdowns with only 3 interceptions. And he's added 92 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how these two quarterbacks, both incredibly talented but with slightly different approaches, stack up as the season goes on. Will Duncan's all-around dominance or Polaris's passing prowess give them an edge in the Heisman race?
That's a good question. One we'll definitely be keeping an eye on. Now, for our final contender, we've got a bit of a dark horse. This is a player who's making a name for himself, even though his team isn't having the greatest season. Lamar Sperling, running back from Buffalo.
Yeah, Sperling's an interesting case. Buffalo's currently at 1-3, so they're not exactly lighting up the scoreboard, but Sperling individually is just killing it. He's averaging 8.9 yards per carry. 8.9.
That's almost, what, like a first down every time he touches the ball? That's insane.
It is. Most running backs are happy to average like 4 or 5 yards a carry. For him to be hitting almost 9 yards every single time, that's amazing efficiency.
Absolutely. So he's got 496 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. He's done that in just 56 carries. Plus, he can catch passes out of the backfield, too. 10 catches for 108 yards. He's the real deal.
He is, and his situation brings up a really interesting question. Does excelling on a struggling team actually help or hurt your Heisman chances?
That is a good question. I mean, you could argue that his stats are even more impressive because he's not getting a ton of support from the rest of the team.
Right. On the other hand, Heisman voters tend to favor players who are on winning teams, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. It'll be interesting to see how they weigh that when it comes time to vote.
So, to recap, we've got a defensive beast, a high-scoring receiver, two quarterbacks with different but equally dangerous styles, and a running back defying the odds on a struggling team. It's only week 4, but the Heisman race is already shaping up to be pretty exciting.
Definitely. And as the season progresses, one thing to remember is that team performance is going to play a big role in who ultimately wins the Heisman. It's not just about individual stats, it's about how you contribute to the team's success.
Right, because at the end of the day, football is a team sport. So, to our listeners, I think it's safe to say we're in for one heck of a ride this season.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
going to be a close race for sure. Who do you think has the best shot?
Keep an eye on these players, watch their games, and see who emerges as the front runner. Every touchdown, every sack, every incredible play could bring us one step closer to crowning a new Heisman Trophy winner.
And, we talked a lot about the stats and all that, but don't forget about those less tangible things like leadership and the ability to perform under pressure. Those qualities can really make a difference, especially in a close race. So pay attention to that as the season unfolds. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, enjoy the games, everybody.
And let the best player win.
Until next time.
See ya.